Hello and welcome to my class. Today I'll be tackling introduction to operating system. My name is Shilova Kuyanda. So let's begin. You can see we have various types of operating system. We have the Linux, the Apple, the Windows operating system. We have IBM, we have Unix, we have Android, we have Mac OS, we have BlackBerry, and so many other operating systems. So you can even check those kind of operating system, especially for the mobile phone operating system, just in your phone under the settings. You can see the kind of operating system that you are using. So in today's lesson, at the end of this lesson, I want you to be able to explain the meaning of an operating system, define operating system terminologies, and lastly explain functions of an operating system. So what's the meaning of an operating system? We can say that an operating system, or in bracket OS, is the program that manage, control, monitor the execution of all other programs that reside in the computer, which also includes application programs and other system softwares. So when we jump to definition of operating system terminologies, we can start with the term processes. So what is processes in operating system? So in an operating system environment, a process is something that is currently under execution. So an active program can be called a process. So for example, when you want to search something on the web, then you start a browser. So this can be a process. Or for example, you are listening to a music on your VLC. So your VLC will be another process. You are typing a program on, let's say, Microsoft Word, or you are reading a document on a PDF. That is a process. So any program that is running in your computer, we call it a process. So that process is what we just refer to as a program. So let's look at a diagram overview of a process. So a program or a process undergoes those stages that are listed there. Some program will follow through all those stages, or some programs just be in 2 stages or just 1 stage at a time. So for example, if we start here under new, you'll see that you have a new program or a new process. The user just started or admitted the process. So the program will start running for some time, and then you'll see it can be interrupted here, and it can still begin to run at the same time, or it can be terminated. So when you start a program, a lot of things happens to it. For example, you can start a new program, uh, then you decide, no, this is not what I wanted, so you'll decide to terminate it. So a process flows through all these steps, but some programs doesn't flow all the way to these processes. So we have a new stage whereby a program is just initiated. We call it a new. Then it's ready. This is a process that is ready to be executed. It's ready to run. It is ready to run. Assuming something was loading, you have been loading something, maybe say using WinRAR. So it has just loaded. It's now ready to be to open. So we say it's now ready. So those are just the process, but we look at it more under the process management. So don't worry more about that. So let's tackle functions of an operating system. So the first function, the very crucial function you have, is security. Security to safeguard user data. You know, user data is very important. For example, the operating system employs passwords, protection, and other related measures to ensure that other users who don't have actually the access, who are not granted the access to that resource or to that information, cannot be able to open it. Another thing is the operating system monitors the overall health of a system in order to monetize performance. So when you are running on your computer, the operating system will try to check and see is your computer running very well. So to get a thorough picture of the system health, keep track of time between the system responses and service requests. This can aid in performance by providing critical information for troubleshooting issues. Then the third function, we have error detecting aids. So the OS constantly monitors the system in order to discover faults and prevent a computer system from failing. So whenever there is an error, any error related in your computer, your operating system will always pop up the message such as such thing is failing, that such a device is missing. So it will always give you errors. It always detect errors and prompt you when necessarily to take action on a particular device that is not running well. Another function is memory management. So the OS, the operating system, is in charge of managing the primary memory. Remember, we have the RAM. So this RAM should be managed in all the running programs. All the running programs, including the system programs that are not actually visible or visible on your taskbar. But the operating system ensures that it creates priorities on which program requires a large amount of memory and which programs requires less amount of memory. So it has to divide. So memory management, it has to manage this RAM for you. To manage the RAM so that each computer, each process in your computer is allocated a certain piece of memory. Under process management, the operating system determines which process have access to a processor and how much processing time every process has in multi-programming. So for example, you say we are running like 5 programs at a go. So the operating system is going to determine which process requires the processor and for how long. For how long will it hold that processor before it gives it back. So that's the work of the operating system, just to manage the processing. The processing of the task has to be managed. They will be looking at the priorities. How does it allocate priority to a particular process? Assuming you have a system process and also at the same time we have an application process. How is it? How will the operating system be able to manage the task between these system and application process? Which process will be given more time? Which priority and why? And why should we allocate priority to a system program than an application program? So we're looking at it. So the processor manages the OS in the following tasks. So for example, task number 1, it keeps track of how processes are processing. A traffic controller is a program that accomplishes this duty. Then number 3, allocates a processor-based CPU to a process. When a process is no longer needed, the processor is delocated. So this is to say that if a certain process has been allocated the processor for it to run, so when it runs to completion, it has run to completion to entirely, it has finished processing. So the operating system is going to delocate, to remove that processor from that task or from that process and allocate it to another process that is waiting. Remember, as we are looked back there, we have scenarios whereby we have a new process, uh, then we have a waiting. So processes are given different states. We have new, we have waiting, we have ready state. So these states, the processor will give process the CPU depending on the priority or on the time it has taken to process a particular task. So number 6, we'll be looking at device management. So the operating system is tasked to make sure that it manages all the devices. So our file system is divided into directories. You know, directories is where we store certain information, where certain information is found. So our file system is divided into directories to make navigation and usage more efficient. Other directories and files may be found in these directories. The file management tasks performed by an operating system are It keeps track of where data is kept, user access settings, and the state of each file. Among other things, the file system is the name given to all these features. So, class, thank you so much for taking your time and for allowing us to go through the functions of an operating system, which are very, very important. We have talked of the security, we have talked of device management, we have talked of memory management, we have talked of process management. All these are very, very vital and very important functions of an operating system. So the next time when we meet, we'll be talking about types and examples of an operating system. So I'll be looking at each task as we go on. So feel free to subscribe, to like, share your comments below on services provided by the operating system. Let's see what are the services. What are these services provided by the operating system? Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice time until we meet again in the next class.